I'm here with Dr. Karen Garza, Superintendent of Schools. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're here to talk about something I know that's near and dear to your heart, which is relationships between students and adults in school. You had mentioned this at our big kickoff, our leadership conference kickoff, that it was really important to you. Tell us why.
You know, I know that there's been a lot of good work done in our schools and throughout all of our division, and certainly in classrooms, to develop relationships with students. But that's something we need to continue to develop and work on and get better at. In this day and time, a lot of stress is put on our students. I believe it's important for us to have strong relationships, at least one caring adult in every school that knows the student personally. The research is very clear that makes a difference, not only in establishing a strong, supportive culture in a school or in a classroom, but also it makes a difference in terms of student learning. Knowing a student, knowing something about them personally, that connection with students, it translates into higher student achievement. So for every reason, I think it's from an educational prerogative to a moral prerogative, it's very important for us to not lose sight of the fact that as institutions, as schools, we're about serving children, and we have to have strong relationships with children.
So what about in our large high schools where, you know, it might be really hard for adults to connect with kids? How is that a challenge, do you think?
I definitely think that's a challenge, but not one that we can't overcome. There are a lot of successful practices that schools all across the country are using, and some of our own schools here in Fairfax County are using, and that is, how do you take a large school and make it feel smaller? And that is assigning a group of caring adults to students that they develop relationships over time, such as a counselor or an assistant principal that's assigned to a group of freshmen as they enter high school, and they follow that student all throughout those 4 years. Not only do they develop stronger, deeper, more personal relationships with students, but they also oftentimes then know the families and know the parents, and that also helps us serve their children is knowing the families as well. So I think it's a great challenge, certainly, but one that I think there's many things that we can do to overcome. I think it's evidence too when we see strong band programs or choir programs or even athletic programs. A lot of times those are based upon these ongoing long-term relationships with a caring adult. That we need to translate into our larger schools, and how can we learn from that?
That's great. Now, in your past, have you seen the power of this working?
Oh, no doubt. Many examples of situations, even back to when I was teaching, about how important it is to know students. The student voice is so important. Ask students how we're doing, what can we do better. I think there's many examples of that I could probably refer to. A student that I was thinking of recently where I was struggling with him in class, and I asked him, okay, I'm struggling, what do you think we can do differently? And he told me that he struggled with the group. And I said, okay, so you're in charge of yourself. When you can sit with the group, you sit with the group. When you need to move out of the group, you move out of the group. You self-regulate. And never had a problem with him again. In fact, many years later, got a not very nice letter from him, and he's doing quite well. So I do think that sometimes we get caught up, and sometimes you have to stop and ask students and involve them in helping us solve the problems or be engaged in the work that we have going on in schools.
Dr. Garza, what are your expectations of staff for this year?
Like I said before, I think they're doing some great things, obviously, to serve our students. But again, I think we need to challenge ourselves to ensure that we're developing those kinds of close relationships with students. So we've challenged our schools this year to identify students, make sure there's at least one caring adult in the building who knows them personally, set up structures so that you have opportunities for students to engage and strengthen those relationships. I know of an administrator who developed a chart and had every teacher put their name beside that student if they knew something personal about them. So it's just paying attention to those personal relationships, making sure that students have an adult that they can go to if they have a challenge or something they need help with. And that comes with having those deep relationships.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.